What will the transfer portal look like in EA College Football 24? Let's take a stab at it. Now, keep in mind, these are my out of left field thoughts. By no means will they probably be anywhere near what EA does, but it's fun to speculate, right? Let me know what you think they should do down in the comments as well. And actually, before we get to that, let's check in with Jimmy to see what he's predicting for this weekend for the big LSU-Bama showdown in Georgia, Tennessee. Take it away, Jimmy.
It's time for Jimmy's predictions, and this week, I'm taking Bama to beat LSU by a lot, and Georgia to barely scrape by Tennessee. Hey, can I get a hot dog?
Ah, yes, hot dogs. Jimmy's lifeblood. Now, in my opinion, there are two ways they could do the transfer portal in EA College Football 24. Number one, boring. You make it like NCAA 14, where it's kind of automated, where you get to the players leaving stage and you see a list of reasons why somebody might have left the school that they're at currently. Or number two, you make it like a mini game, almost like a secondary recruiting, because that's kind of what the transfer portal is. That's what I'm going to guess at, but let's take a look at a new rule that hit the transfer portal that went into effect immediately. I think starts in January before we actually look at what it might be like recruiting-wise. So now there are two windows where transfers can happen. 45 days beginning the day following the championship selection, and another 15-day period in the first 2 weeks of May at the end of spring practice, May 1st through May 15th. So two windows. Now it also says reasonable accommodations. Reasonable accommodations will be made for players in the FBS and FCS national championship games. And I'll just assume that means they'll be granted a special window, an extension of sorts for them if they want to transfer out. Why would you want to transfer to another school if you just won a national title? I don't know, but personally, I'd like to see this as a separate stage in the offseason that functions much like recruiting, but is off to the side of recruiting. So there's its own little window that says transfer portal. I think you keep it there the whole time, and it's locked. It only unlocks in the transfer window. Now, they can go two ways with that. They could have it unlocked right after the title game. There's like 1 week right there where it unlocks. Or maybe it's 4 weeks to kind of get that 45 days, and then you lock it, and you come back to it before the season starts, since we're at May 1st through 15th, unless they include the spring game. If they include the spring game, then you could stick it right there for a second transfer window. Now, as far as what's in that transfer category that you select, I think it could be very similar to how recruiting is, or however EA decides to design recruiting this time around, because in the end, you're pitching these recruits, these transfers, to come to your school because of reasons why they've left. So the unique thing there is these guys aren't just looking at what they want. They're looking at why they left. So the big reason, let's just say it's playing time, buried on the depth chart, right? So the school that they're looking at, they can't be buried. They have to be an instant starter. That has to be like a deal breaker for them, that they have to be that starter. It's non-negotiable. Now take a guy like Jimmy McJangles. Let's say his college career, he's buried on the depth chart and believes he's being wasted at Georgia, and at the same time would love to stay close to home because he's mama's shining star. His interest levels in teams within Georgia and around Georgia should be weighted with playing time with other schools outside of the area having a shot close to home. But if you're going to pull him and you're from California, you're going to have to work a lot harder to get him, similar to how recruiting is now. Now, in my opinion, you should be able to promise a kid a role as a starter or the chance to compete for a starting role. Two separate things, one being way more riskier than the other. The chance to compete, risky. Guaranteed start, a lot higher on the list as far as points go. But there's risk there, because if you don't start him, maybe he leaves you. Maybe he has a morale thing that screws up the entire team chemistry. And of course, if you break that promise, your coach integrity should take a hit and should affect how your promises are viewed by transfers and recruits in the future. Before, promises were used to keep players from transferring or to keep them from entering the NFL draft. This time, I think they should be used to sway transfers to come to you and make the risk reward huge. Now, as far as the UI goes, I want to see the entire pool of transfers. I want to see that whole portal. I want to see why they're transferring, and it needs to be a wide gamut. I don't want the standard 3, no playing time, closer to home, or maybe bad grades. I remember what the third one was. There were some more, but those are the ones that I can remember. Those first two are the ones I remember that always happen. I want it to look very similar to whatever EA throws out with recruiting this time, if it's good, of course. Because I'm thinking of NCAA 14s, and if it's anywhere near that, it'll work. What I don't want to see are promises that other coaches have made. Keep that a mystery. While we're at it, keep the points that they're investing in those players, and even if they go back to phone calls, keep that stuff a mystery too. I don't want to know. I want that to be part of what makes it difficult to get these guys, not knowing what Coach A promised versus Coach B versus what I'm promising. Then when he finally transfers, sure, show what was promised, show what was on the table, and show why he came to you or Coach A, or save him because you know he's going to take him off. You know, and I'm going to step out of bounds here and drift into recruiting a little bit. Don't show me points. Don't show me points. I don't want to know how many or how little I need to invest. All I need to see is a bar. And then when they're close enough to committing, or you think they're close enough, start putting crystal balls up. Start crystal balling these guys. I know a lot of people out there are probably like, I want to see those point totals. I need that. And that's fine. Like, maybe we could have a difficulty for recruiting, which is what a lot of people have been clamoring for. Give us a difficulty. Maybe that's hardcore recruiting where you don't see the point totals. And we haven't even touched nil. If they put nil in the game, that is a whole other video that we can talk about sometime. If they confirm nils in it, we'll theorize then. It's fun to think about, but that opens up a whole new bag. Anyway, that's what I think would be cool in the transfer portal, just as a start. I'm sure there are tons of things we could spitball now into it, and I want to know what you would think too, because I'd love to do another mock-up with some suggestions that people have put in the comments. That'd be cool to do. So drop them down there. Let me know what you're looking forward to the most in EA College Football 24, and Jimmy will be gracing you again in Rapid City versus Clemson, probably in the next day, maybe two. But until then, go Bucks, go Stegos.